Happy Thursday, rock lovers! Welcome to tonight's Cut and Chat, a live interactive rock cutting and polishing demo. My name is Joanna Morales from Highland Park's marketing team, and thank you for joining us. If you're having a hard time polishing softer materials, pun intended, you've come to the right place. Tonight, Zeke will be teaching us how to best cut and polish softer rocks such as turquoise, Rosetta lace, and Wonderstone. This is your chance to ask your technical questions, get answered to the specific challenges that you encounter in your shop, and even share your own tips and tricks. All this while having ton of fun. Hi, Lawrence. All. We would also like to invite everyone watching us online to join us here in our VIP Zoom room by signing up using the link QRCA. Before we begin, here's a short teaser of the show we have in store for you tonight.
Yeah, white.
We're super excited to get this cut and chat started, so let's dive right into some guidelines. There are two ways to ask your questions. First, you can put your question on the chat. The chat box can be found at the bottom of your Zoom screen. Make sure to send your chat to everyone so we can see them. A member of the HPL team will read your question to seek out loud. For those who are watching on Facebook, you can enter your questions on the comment section, and someone from the HPL team will read your question to see. Second, to make this cut and chat more interactive, you can ask your question to seek yourself. At the bottom of your Zoom screen, there's a button that says reactions. Click on that button and you will see an option that says raise hand. When you raise your hand, a member of the HPL team will unmute you and you will receive a prompt saying that the host is asking you to unmute. Click on unmute and you will be able to seek your question. After you ask your question, we will lower your hand and mute you so the next person in line can ask his or her question. If you have a new question later on during the show, you can raise your hand again. We will be alternating unmuting people and asking questions from the chat so everyone gets a fair chance for their question to be answered. And for the Wheel of Fortune giveaway, if the initial winner isn't here, we will respin the wheel until a winner who is present in the room is selected. So now get ready to learn cutting and polishing techniques, ask your technical questions, and have tons of fun. To officially start tonight, Cat and Chat, please welcome Mineral Maestro Signal Rimble.
Good evening, everybody. It's so great to be with y'all again. And I'm excited to cut and polish some rocks because actually softer materials is what I did the most of. I like cutting the soft, like turquoise, one of my favorite things to cut. Um, so we'll have a lot of fun with that. Hey, Jimmy, I got some fun stuff here, ready to make cabs. Hi, William. Hey, Carl. Hey, Ed. And so I guess what do you guys want to start with? I know we had a lot of requests, so I tried to get, hey, Steve All. That's funny. Rocks. Very helpful. Opal would have been a good one. I don't know why we didn't think to grab opal of all things, a soft material. Wonderstone. I guess I can show you guys the cool rocks I have sitting here too. Um, we will have to do an entire cut and chat on the stabilizing when we get that set up. There's a lot of stuff that'd be fun to stabilize. I do have some malachite. All right, well, let's cut over to the camera. All right, got this set up. I'll show you guys some of the fun pieces here. There's a piece of Wonderstone, piece of the charoite, got a piece of the Rosetta lace, and turquoise, of course. It's one of the funnest ones. This is a piece of those little Sleeping Beauty nuggets we've been selling. So that'll be a fun one to do. Another piece of turquoise. I also grabbed a piece of the Sonoran Sunset. And then before we got started, John had a great suggestion on polishing jade. So I polished this one before we got started. Although now I just got it wet, so you can't see how great the polish is. Sometimes it can be very difficult to get a good polish on jade because of the orange peel. So you can do some of that too. So yeah, when you're cutting non-stabilized turquoise, it has that more natural rock feel. Where it can be a little bit more porous, it can be a little bit more tricky to cut. I mean, it's still not like hard to cut, but it does feel different. And stabilized stuff is really easy to cut because it's very consistent, takes a fantastic polish. Like here's a piece of that stabilized stuff that John got, and I just buffed a really good polish on the end here. You can see how consistent this is. I just buffed this window over here. This is that same material. This side's not polished. So, all right. We'll get us started here. Now, on some softer materials, I do have yes, an orange peel on the jade refers to the texture of what you get on some of the jade. Some other stones get it too, but the jade is the most famous for getting like looks like the skin of an orange texture on there, and it's not as attractive. Can you guys hear me?
Kind of like underwater.
It's probably the noise dampening from the. There we go. And probably this little flap causing it to dampen the noise enough to turn on the noise canceling. Sherman did get some awesome microphones that should be coming. Actually, they should already be here. Let's see if I get that a little wet, if that'll help. Yeah, let's see. Water. Oh, there we go. Here's the water. Yeah, this one flap is making enough noise on the wheel that let's see if I can tuck it up underneath. It makes it hard to hear. All right. A lot of softer materials. I'll start on the 220 grit. I got an 80 grit over here, the centered wheel. But this 220 grit is great if you're starting with a softer stone. Let's see. Got a couple little pieces of malachite here. I like to look at this. Is actually that slab of malachite that we cut on the last cut and chat where Tay and I were cutting a bunch of material. You can see it's a nice, quiet little piece of malachite. I just trimmed it down. But I'll start on the 220 wheel because it's softer. Makes it so you're not grinding too fast. Sometimes when you use the more aggressive, like 80 grit, it'll cause it to tear up the stone a little bit. Hey, Robin. This is why I started on the 220 grit. And honestly, you don't need any more aggressive for such a soft stone. Patrick, are you using Nova wheels? Yeah, if the material is building up on the wheel, add a little bit more water, and that'll help keep it clean. This is a pretty good amount. I'm not familiar with the Kingsley North wheels. I know that the Nova wheels, because they're so aggressive, rip up the felt really bad. Not a bad little shape. You can run without the felt, but the felt is really nice to have because it helps keep the water spray consistent across the wheel. You can also just buy sheets of felt and cut them yourself if you're wearing them out a lot. Maybe even find something a little heavier. Right now, I'm just working on the girdle. You can see how it tapers down on the edges. I'm working it because I want that to be even all the way around. Yeah, you could put leather on there. I don't think I've ever tried putting leather on the wheels before. I've used carpet and stuff like that. But just working this soft. This is malachite that I'm working right now. It's nice and soft, so I'm working it real gentle. Not going crazy, pushing on the rock. Just letting the wheel do the work for me. Well, right now we're talking about using it as a wiper, as a replacement for this felt right here. But if you're talking about polishing, you use the rough side of the leather. Or at least I assume that's what you were talking about, Patrick. The little felt that goes above the wheel. You guys got to read me the questions too. I can't see the chat. I only get like every other message. Marketing team.
We can hear you that well. So one question is from Ed: is there much difference when cutting and polishing stabilized versus non-stabilized turquoise?
We already did that one.
Okay. And then which side of letter, smooth or suede?
The rough side is what you use for polishing.
All right. And then did you say that you were starting with 220 grit?
Yep. This is a decently soft piece of malachite, so I'm starting with 220 to get it shaped, which is nice because then it's not too aggressive.
Okay. No questions for now. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. All right. I like the shape. And one of the fun things about polishing malachite is it's very unimpressive until you get to the last step. Like it doesn't look like anything special yet. When we get that final polish, this thing's gonna glow. So now I'm gonna move over to the 280 grit. I'll have to put that flap back down.
So just another question, Zeke. Since this is malachite, are you supposed to wear some protection?
Yes, you should wear gloves, a respirator. But it makes it very difficult to talk. I should have put gloves on. I didn't even think about grabbing something downstairs.
All right.
Because it can put heavy metal into you. Your skin absorbs a lot.
John is here.
You done?
Yep.
So we're just getting the shape on there. You can see we're getting it smoothed out. I'm still looking at the girdle, making sure that it all looks good. Working the stone on every face. Now do the edges, polish the back. And then
What are we making today?
John, working on a malachite cab.
All right. Now, did you talk about the difference of working with freehand or working with a dop?
We have not.
You need to talk about that because not everybody can freehand like you're doing. A lot of people like working with a dop. Yes, I got my tooth fixed. I'll tell you what, I had a very interesting experience yesterday because, like getting into a dentist, at least in Austin, I basically it would be very hard for me to get in on an emergency thing fast. Uh, like these guys got me in, and it was the most high tech office that I've ever been in. Like they had all the latest equipment, and it's the big name equipment like from U.S. and European manufacturers, and they got me fixed up and did a great job, and I am like 100% better today. Boy, that is going to be a nice piece.
Yeah, it looks pretty good shape. They polished the back as well and did an extra point piece of malachite. There's one pane I cut on the last cut and chat, or one of the other cut and chat. this guy. I like this kind of shallow dome, good girdle, because that makes it nice for wire wrappers and silversmith. And I am putting
How
just a
thick it?
tiny bit of an angle towards the top.
Yeah, how thick is that piece?
It was a 1/4 inch slab, so it's probably close to that, like the very thickest part.
So for me, the girdle's a little thick right now. Yeah, I'm feeling way better. Now, see, working a stone like that, I prefer, particularly if I'm working my dome, I prefer to be docked. Yeah, well, you know what? These guys were amazing. They didn't gag me at all, Al. I didn't have one experience of being gagged. They actually knew what they were doing.
That actually is an interesting debate, DOP versus not DOP, because I rarely DOP stones unless I'm doing really tiny ones.
Well, if I'm working the dome, I really prefer having the stone docked because I can blend it. For me, it feels like I can blend it more easily.
Yeah. But I always taught people is to hold it with your index finger and your thumb so that you can roll it around evenly and turn it and roll it around evenly.
Yeah, well, I think you'll also discover as you get older, having the DOP really helps. Because like my hands, when I'm working on something like that, I use super glue. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Well, my knuckles are all getting big from all the years of doing, physical work, cutting stones and stuff.
All right,
Well,
moving on to the 600
it's one of the
grit.
reasons. Yeah, it's one of the reasons why I designed this machine with that rolled front, is because wrist and fingers, all that just gets.
For me, it was the rolled edge immediately sold me on the machine. When I saw that, I knew I had to buy this machine because my arms were so sore from cutting tabs.
Yeah, Edward, I'll tell you what. I had to have a root canal. Basically, my tooth had got a crack down in there and it was pinching that nerve, just open, close, pinch the nerve. So they got to do a root canal when you have that. And of course, I'm over here, and not everybody's going to accept any kind of insurance. I mean, I can make a filing with my insurance company. And the last time I did a root canal, I think my copay on it was about $500. And when I went in there, literally the whole thing cost right around $600. First class service, man. Really great place.
You can start to see the buoyancy in this and how much better it's getting with the 600 grit.
Wipe it off dry so we can see that surface. Yeah, I do a little of that, Stephen.
I'm gonna feather it in a little bit down here still on the 600 grit. This is slightly uneven still there. But one of the awesome things about the soft materials like this is they will not look good until you get to that final buff, and then they just really pop.
Oh, you live for them, huh, Ed? Well, that was my second one, and I can tell you this: my first one was way less comfortable than this one. This one I had literally zero discomfort. So I have to say I was impressed.
One thing I've
Yeah, I was in
mentioned
so much
before-
I was in so much pain. I was in so much pain yesterday. They could have told me it was going to cost $10,000. I'd be like, get it done. But I was like, I get to the end of it. They tell me the cost, and I'm just like, oh, okay, that's nothing. Like literally, that's my copay on my insurance.
One of the things I mentioned before, but I'll mention it again. When I'm doing the girdle of the stone, I like to use the edges. Because I see a lot of people pull their stone right in the middle, and then they're wasting the best part to do the dome with. You always wind up with more diamond on the edge. People don't use it as much. Always do my girdle.
Your microphone's a little goofy. Where's your microphone located? Because you're kind of muddy half the time you're talking.
I'm wearing my headphones so that I can hear anything, but they have noise canceling in them. So anytime there's a lot of like I'm grinding, I forget it cuts out.
Oh,
Because you'll hear me just fine, and then I'll start grinding. And if I talk and grind at the same time, then you can't hear me.
okay. It's got Z canceling on it.
Sherman did get the new microphones. They should be at his apartment already,
Awesome.
which include
Oh, I
noise
love-
canceling ones to do this with.
Yeah. I love it when everybody's got their cameras on. I get to see everybody's faces.
Let me dry this one off again so you can see it. Because I'm about ready to move on.
Yeah, I had to bring Lynn over to the ferry terminal. She's doing some banking stuff in Hong Kong today. So I'm sitting in my favorite brunch spot right now. I'm the first one in here because everybody stays up late here. They don't get up early, but I get up early.
That's a really nice one, Chipotle. As part of the chatoyant and part the fact that this is a soft material, you won't see any of them after I buff it.
Yeah,
That's
and
what
when you're working on the soft wheels, those will blend in as you're working it.
And we just got to the 1200 grit wheel.
I'm in China, Kirsten. Yep, there's so many new products I'm working on right now, and I got new ideas. I've been thinking to myself, I need to hire a second engineer because I got so much stuff I want to make. So many ideas about things that I can produce for the the lapidary industry. Really excited about this auto slabber that I'm working on. It's really coming together.
It is a really cool machine. I can't wait to see it done. See, like even just the 600 to 1200, I'll dry the stone off. You can already see a big difference in those little flat spots and the way it looks on the polished. Oh, it's gonna be such a nice piece of malachite. So Chipotle. I was gonna finish up the edges in the back on the 1200 grit. I don't have any milk and diamond set up. I really don't never use the milk and diamond for calves.
Yeah, well, you should do some Cherry Creek, because Cherry Creek, you're never going to get a really bright shine on it doing like cerium. And a lot of people kind of poo-pooed Cherry Creek, and also the Sonoran dendritic was the same way. That
Well, I
if
do
you
have a
go to,
canvas wheel here that has diamond grit on it. I
yeah.
don't have it set up to do milk.
Well, what grit does it have on it?
50,000.
Yeah.
The mahogany obsidian will polish on the cerium is going to be best for that.
Yeah, it will go like mahogany. Oh yeah, yeah. I hear you, Jack. I lived through that for years, just running my butt off to try and keep my saws running.
Yes, the wet belt sander will get out the flat spots faster on a hard stone. On something soft like this, I would put it on the slow speed if you're doing calves like this on the wet belt sander. The flat spots are generally going to come out on those last two steps here on something really soft like the malachite. And compared to an agate, this stuff is like butter.
Susie, can you tell us what are the next steps for the group? 220, 280, and then what?
We do 220, 280, 600, 1200, which is what I'm on right now. And then we'll do 3000 and buff it. And I'll show you the buff here in a minute.
George, you might want to log out and come back in if you're not getting the video. Sometimes it'll do something weird like that.
Let's look at this again. Although I know it's ready to move on. I'll show you guys.
So Zeke, is the belt sander to help get rid of flat spots faster?
It works really good for that if you're doing hard materials like agates. It takes it off really fast.
Okay,
On
and
soft materials like this, these soft wheels will do just fine.
all right,
And then I do not have the new felt wheel. I have this old one we got in a collection that just screws onto the end there. John, is this next container going to have the stuff to set up the end plate on the CB8?
I don't know. I have to look and see whether those are in there. But I do have a bunch of them, and right now I've got them with the felt, with a basically it's an adhesive back felt pad. But I'm working on getting some thick leather too, and putting adhesive back on it as well, so you can go either way, or you could do two backers, and then you could have one for felt and one for leather.
Oh, that's cool. Are you going to do a canvas one too?
Canvas is a little bit difficult to do on something like this, because you're turning it really fast, and typically the canvas, keeping it on is a little bit more of a challenge if you're spinning it fast. It'll start stretching out.
I dumped a whole bunch of dirty water by accident in the tank there. And I think I gunked up all of the valves in the CB8. We're gonna have to blow them out.
But you're recycling your water?
Yes.
You bonehead. Get two buckets. It's called two buckets: clean water bucket, dirty water bucket. Because if you recycle it, you are going to clog up your valves.
I have that recirculating tank, but the clean side got really dirty.
Michael and Kim is asking, will you be using the polishing disc on your CB8?
I do have one on here, not the one that John's making, but we will be using that one. Has diamond on it. We'll be using that one for some of the other stones.
And then what RPM is the polishing disc going on the cap machines?
Well, basically just going to run the speed of the machine, which is why leather and felt will run just fine on that. Or if you have a rubber backed one, then it would be fine as well.
And then is there a difference in polishing other soft materials, say turquoise instead of malachite?
How are you running the polish on turquoise?
I'm doing now with Zam on the cotton wheel.
Yeah, that's what I thought you were going to say. I mean, the turquoise you can do on canvas, right?
Oh yeah, this is one I did. I just polished this little window on this earlier with the Zam, but you could definitely do a really good polish with the canvas on it.
And then James is asking, what's an auto slicer?
The auto slicer is a saw that I'm in the middle of designing right now that basically it's got a microprocessor on it, and the microprocessor will have the saw slice, index, and you can put in the thickness of the blade, the thickness of the slab, and tell it to cut 1 or 2 or 5 or cut the whole rock. And basically, it's the idea behind it is to help the people who are running 1 or 2 man shops to be able to produce more, because you'll always have your saw finish and then you're on the phone or you're doing something else and you're not getting production on the saw. And I know, from my own experience being, a small shop doing cutting, that was like a big challenge for me. And being able to produce a lot of slabs fast and not have to tend to the saw every minute would be like super helpful. So that's what it is.
I'm so excited about that machine.
Great. And then Kim is asking, can you talk about polishing on buffing wheel with paste grit versus flat wheel?
Polishing on a what now?
On buffing wheel with paste grit versus flat wheel?
Paste grit.
Are you talking about like diamond paste, Kim? Yeah. Well, I'm not a big fan of diamond paste because it's basically the paste has got silicon grease basically. So for me, the silicon grease, when you're putting grease on your stone and then you're trying to see, did I get a good polish? And now the grease is kind of faking you some. It's like, I just don't like that. Which is why if I'm going to polish with diamond, I'm going to take the diamond and suspend it in milk, because then I'm not putting anything oily or greasy on my stone. Because oil and grease on the stone just ends up making it more difficult to see, when you really have a polish versus you're looking at the polish of or the shine from the grease. Sound like you were cranking down on the wing nut.
And then Ed is asking, he's curious about leather. I have some shearling leather with thin fur on one side. Would the fur help or hurt the quality of polishing?
Stay away from the fur.
All right. Okay. And then James is asking, are your soft wheels firmer sponge than a DP Nova wheel?
I'd have to look at that because I don't know. I know they changed their their firmness at some point in time. I don't remember what theirs are now.
Back to the cabin here. On the buffing wheels, the two things you really got to watch out for is the buffing wheel ripping the stone out of your hand. You're just running this dry, so it tends to grab it a little bit more. So you want to be careful when you're using this. If you get a good grip on it, like if you don't want to do an edge like this and then tilt up like that into the wheel, it's almost guaranteed to rip that out of your hand. So I'll turn it and go down with it. Same with doing the edge. I wouldn't want to catch a flat edge like that because it pull really hard. I'll turn it and do it like that so it's not pulling on the stone as hard. And then the other thing to watch out for is the getting the stone too hot. You want to get light cut, work it. You don't want to get this too hot and burn your stone. Like a piece of fluorite, you can really burn and make it look horrible. And
Michael is asking, do we have diamond in stock?
you can see the buff.
Are you
is really
talking
makes a
diamond
difference.
powders?
And then I'm going to take this one step further on the buff. On this, for that first wheel, I use Zam. On the second wheel here, I have Fabulous, which is generally used for more of a jewelry polish, but it's even a little bit finer. So I like to do a little bit on there. Yeah, the chipotle in this stuff is so good. And then if you get where you can see the little wax build up on there, it's because you got too much wax on there. That wax is not necessarily
That's
easy
great,
to get
Kate.
off. You're just wiping that. So it's best to get it all off with your wheel.
Patrick wants to know, do you do the extra polish step for all softer materials?
Depends on the stone, but not generally. Generally doing one buff is going to be plenty. But the buffing step is what's really important to get that gloss on a soft stone. Because you saw it come off the cab machine and it barely looked like it had a polish on it at all. And now I'm looking at it and it looks wet. You can see how chatoyant that malachite is.
I need to do a buffer.
Yeah, you do. What I think would be really cool if you could make these attachments that go on the ends of the CB8. So that is the big secret on the like malachite and turquoise. Such a beautiful stone. You can see in that darker malachite, that really nice chatoyant flash.
Nice cap. Should I sell it?
Oh gosh, you're gonna sell it. Gonna enjoy nothing. Barely looked at it with other than through the lens of the camera, and you're already trying to sell it.
No, it's
I
become
do
a
have a little
joke
bit of wax
now.
on here. I got to get off.
So
Have you found that the ZAM stains any stones?
You definitely don't want to do it on super porous stones. When you get a stone that's very porous, you can get the ZAM down in there, and because to get it off, you got to heat it up. It can be very hard to get out. If you do get a stone that is fibrous that you've gotten a ton of ZAM into, I've discovered hot water helps get it out. Scrubbing it with hot water and some dish soap. But yes, if it's really porous or has a lot of fractures, I would not buff it with the ZAM. Well, let's see. I'm trying to see if I got a stone here that would be a good example of one you wouldn't want to do that with, but I really don't have one here that would be a good. Oh, okay, here, I'll show you this one.
Kate,
So
okay.
this agate right here that we did a skin polish on, because it's got all of this rough edge around it, if you buffed this and got all the ZAM in the skin there, it would be a pain in the butt to get the ZAM out of that. Although cerium would be a better polish for that anyway. And then something like jade, you can see that's a really good polish in this jade. You wouldn't want to buff this with the ZAM because this would cause an orange peel effect on there where it looks like the skin of an orange. And so this you want to do on a really slow speed with cerium. If I took this and buffed it really hard with the ZAM, it would look terrible. Even though this is a very hard stone.
Yeah,
All
it's a little deceptive because and this is actually a really interesting topic because people talk about hard stones, and then when they think about the hard stone and how it works, it's a little counterintuitive sometimes. Like for example, with jade, if you go to core drill a piece of jade, if you are core drilling it, it will cut like butter. And it has to do with the structure inside the jade. And if you core drill a piece of Arizona petrified wood, it's like core drilling a chunk of steel. It's just really, really hard. And if you cut with the grain versus against the grain, the drilling is completely different. So, I mean, that's part of what to think about, because what's happening when you orange peel jade is you're actually exposing some of the structural differences inside the material, which is what's causing you to see a visual orange peel effect, because you're kind of attacking the softer areas and not attacking the harder areas, and then it starts getting that unattractive orange peely effect. But it has to do with the actual structure of the stone, the internal structure.
That is very fascinating. One second, sorry, I'm fixing the water on here.
Kate wants to know, does the buffer help with harder stones too?
Generally on harder stones, I'm going to be polishing other things, or polishing on other things. It can make a little bit of a difference, but if I'm doing an agate, I'm going to be using cerium and leather, because it's going to be a much better polish that way.
Okay. And Mary said that she cannot get leopard skin to polish. Is it the same thing?
Let's polish a piece of leopard skin. I actually think the diamond on canvas will do a better job.
That's
John,
where
what
I
would
would
you
go.
polish?
Diamond and caverns for the leopard skin.
Now, when you were doing the diamond and milk, did you have a wheel set up to do that for cabochons?
Yeah, I just have a separate wheel that is dedicated dedicated to the diamond.
But did you run milk for cabbing?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
because you're just
I never
loading
tried
your
it.
wheel. You're loading your wheel.
That's interesting. I've never done the diamond on cabs before. I tried it on the spheres. That worked really good.
Well, all you're doing is you're using milk as a suspension solution. If you buy the diamond in silicon oil, all it is they're using the silicon oil as a suspension solution, like milk. And you don't want the skim milk, you want the whole milk, because the whole milk has got a little bit more viscosity. And what it does is it holds the diamond up in suspension, which means the diamond doesn't just fall all the way to the bottom and not float around in the mixture. And the beauty to milk, and why milk is ideal, is that you can wash it off. You get silicon oil in your piece. The silicon oil could change the color of the piece, but it also is going to fake you. It's going to look shiny, and you're going to think, "Oh, I got a good polish," and then you dry it off and wash it, and then, "Oh shit, I'm not there yet." And I just like, to me, there's no point in using an oil to suspend the diamond when you can use, and when you're paying more for that too, when you can use milk. Milk is cheap and it works well, and just eliminates all those other problems.
All right, here's a piece of leopard skin we can polish. Pretty piece. This one is actually hard enough that I could go to the 60s yet. But it'll still cut nice. I'm actually curious, so I'm gonna polish the back of this with Zam and the front with the diamond and canvas. Because I think the diamond canvas will do a better job, but I'm curious to see.
Why don't you make a nice curved teardrop like a lot of the capitals got?
Because I want this one to be a nice diamond shape. I do have a, we'll do this one as a nice teardrop. Or semi-diamond. I guess I don't know what you would call that, but. It's kind of a free-form diamond. This is actually a really common shape I used to cut. On this piece, I'm just trying to decide which side I think is prettier. They're both so beautiful.
The diamond and milk will probably help on the script zone too.
Is that what you used to do it on with the series?
I think so. If I remember correctly, I think that's what we were doing.
Michael wants to know, can you use different polishes on those types of wheels?
Yeah, you can use all kinds of different polishes. You just don't want to use the same one for all your different kinds. You want to dedicate one for whatever you're using. So you got one for
So you
Zam,
gotta-
use it just for Zam.
Yeah, so you have a dedicated wheel. So if you got your wheel set up and you're gonna run, a certain polish on it. That's all you run on that. You don't mix, because then you'll have a wheel that's got all different kinds of polishes, and it can end up fighting you.
Because some stones respond completely different to different polishes.
And then Carol, I think, has a request of polishing rainbow obsidian. And then Kirsten wants to know, can you fix orange peeling?
Yes, you can fix orange peel.
You can, but you got to grind it back down to get the orange peel out and repolish it.
Yeah, you have to step back a few grits until you can clean it out.
And then a
And when I'm
question.
doing the back, 1 second. When I'm doing the backs of the cabs on the wheel, if I'm not going to take them to a flat wheel to polish them, I lock them back and forth like this through the back. That way I'm not grinding a groove the shape of the wheel in there if I hold it just one spot and then turn it. I rock it back and forth, it keeps it really flat. All I'm doing is just rocking the stone like this. Go ahead.
A question for John. Are you going to come out with a buffing machine?
Matter of fact, that's a great question. And I do have a buffing machine that's probably 80% designed. Something I was just looking at it yesterday. So it's funny that you asked me about it today.
Okay, and then Tony wants to know, so diamond compound on the old crystal pads is obsolete now?
I don't know what they were using, but if it's the diamond paste, then I would be like, yeah, to me, it's obsolete. Because all they're doing with that is trying to get it to hold the diamond in suspension. That's all they're doing. Yeah. I'm gonna get, that needs to be on my list. I'm gonna get a full range of the diamond powders in stock. Because if you got the diamond powder, you can make your own. You don't have to pay for some, like what they were charging for those little syringes with the grease in them is like, if you knew what the margin was on that, you'd be like pissed, because there's hardly any diamond in it at all, because you don't want too much diamond in it. So you're buying grease for like an exorbitant price. And it's grease. You're putting grease all over your stone, which is like, to me, it's just stupid. There's probably people that will disagree with me, but I'm not going to be putting grease on my stones, so I'm cutting them.
You do tell us it's a little bit harder of a stone because it doesn't have all the little flat spots like the malachite did. Polish it out way better.
Yeah.
We just did the 280 grit, so I'm going to move over here to the 600.
That 280 grit is really one of your most important wheels, because you're going to be, it's kind of like in the sphere grinding, if you are 400 poly, that is doing kind of the same thing that the 280 does for you on cabbing. It takes all the metal bond marks out.
So we have a question from Facebook, from Steve. Well, milk has fats and oils in it. I'm confused.
Yeah, well, compared to silicon grease, it's got nothing in it. Yeah, you just take silicon grease and smear it on anything and try and wash it off with water. and then put milk on something and try and wash it off with water. I mean, you know, it's just like a big difference. Yes, there is a certain amount of fat that's in milk, but the way it comes across onto the stone, it's not going to just coat the stone completely with a greasy film that you can't get off easily, which is why it's ideal. And I'll tell you, the guys that are selling tubes full of grease or bottles full of silicone oil with diamond in it would probably hate me saying this, because honestly, I'm telling you something that you can actually make your own polishes without spending a bunch of money on something that's actually going to be less desirable. Oh, I knew somebody was going to ask me that question. What's the auto slabber going to cost? You know, I don't know exactly, because I'm still in the modeling phase of it. So I'm doing 3D models, and I got the core of the machine design finally. That took a long time. And I'm doing housing, the main housing now. If I was going to guess, well, no, I'll say it a different way. I'm targeting to have it be right around the 10K mark. I think that is the ideal. I'm hoping I could be a little lower than that. Like, I'd like it to be very accessible for people. And it's definitely going to be a pretty massive innovation, because nobody's done any automation for lapidary. It's, at least not for the hobby market. Not very much. Not very much. I have to shoot a video of it, because I think maybe I'm using a, a couple carats to make you know, a couple tablespoons. I'll do a couple tablespoons full solution. That's all. Like, you make small batches. That way, if your milk goes bad, you don't care. And with the fine grits, you know, the cost per carat is very low. So you don't make a big amount, and then basically you use it and you refrigerate it when you're not using it, so your milk stays good for as long as possible. Auto slabbers 8. I'm starting with an 18. I am intending to go to different sizes, but I gotta prove it out and get it all dialed in on the 18. Yeah, well, there's some automatic fastening machines out there, like Sri Lanka and Thailand. A lot of those places they're running shops with like an army of automatic fastening machines. I can't answer that, because the way I do it, I'm like basically putting a pinch of the powder in and putting some milk and stirring it up and going. So I need to be more scientific, but basically, yeah, you can mix it with baby shampoo. It's another alternative, because again, it's completely water soluble, but it's a lot thicker. It's a lot thicker than the milk. Yeah, well, the thing to remember about diamond is, if you get too high of a concentration of diamond, like everybody thinks, if you have a lot of diamond, it's going to cut faster, cut better, you know. But actually, it's there's a threshold. So if you look at something like a saw blade, and you look at the edge of the saw blade, and you can see how many diamonds there are. And if you keep shoving more diamond into the blade, at some point in time, you're going to cross this line of optimal cutting, and the blade will stop cutting. Because what happens is the pressure on any single diamond becomes so small that it won't cut. Think of it like the bed of nails. You know, they have those bed of nails. The Indian guy would lay on the bed of nails, and none of the nails would break the skin. And it's the same concept. If you have too many nails, then nothing breaks the skin. If you have just a few, yeah, it's gonna you're gonna have puncture wounds, right? So it's the same thing with diamonds. If you over concentrate the diamond, that the tool stops cutting. And it kind of makes sense that if you have a solution with too much diamond, you can have the same kind of phenomena happen.
Well, speaking of diamond, I have this canvas pad on the side of the wheel here. I've worked in 50,000 grit. I just got the pad wet and then worked it in, so it's dry right now. There's the before polish. Again, you don't want to get your stone too hot, but you do want to let it get nice and warm while you do this, because it actually getting it warm while you do it helps the polish. Like some stones, like obsidian, you get nice and warm while you're polishing it on the leather. It just takes such a good polish doing that. So this is 50,000 grit on canvas that I'm doing right now. And this is just dry. Now we got a pretty good look on there.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, don't hold it in one spot, because you can basically generate enough heat that you cause a dry fracture. You know, just pop it. 50,000 grit on that.
Do you think that's too big of a jump? 3,000
No,
to 50,000?
no, it's not. It's not, because the proof is in the pudding, you know.
Well, it could always be better. All right, and then I'm gonna buff the back of this. Now, this is probably a stone I generally wouldn't advise to do with Zam, because it's a little bit more porous than like a solid piece of agate. But I'm gonna buff the back and
You'll
see.
get to see you turn it blue, huh? Or green.
Yes. So there's the before. You can see it's a decent polish, but you can see the Zam is undercutting the polish. So it's not nearly as good as the diamond.
Yep.
No, that's pretty good for a piece of leopard skin. All right, and then let's do a piece of obsidian.
Oh, that Wonderstone there would be great for diamond as well.
Well, I wanted to do something we could do on the leather, but yeah, that piece of Wonderstone would be a lot of fun. This one's kind of a funky piece because I forgot to cut a slab. We sold all the slabs. I just have this end cut, so it's a little thick, but we can work with this.
Yeah.
Alan is asking 50,000 on what type of wheel canvas?
Canvas, yes. Ed, you certainly could try thinning out liquid soap with a little water. What I would do is I would thin it separately until you get the right consistency, you know, like you know, maybe making like a quarter cup or something, just a small amount till you get that consistency that's perfect, and then parse it off and mix your diamond in. But here's the beauty to this. If you understand that all you're doing with the silicon grease or the silicon oil, all you're doing is you're suspending the diamond particles so that they don't sink to the bottom. If you understand that, then you can experiment with any kind of, you know, material like shampoo or milk or whatever that is water soluble to create a solution. It's not magic. Like, take the magic out of it. All you're doing, yeah, you could do that, but I'm thinking you're going to have a nice smell pretty fast, Bruce. But um, the basically you can experiment with this. It's like all this stuff was created by mortals, and so, you know, what can be done. You can invent your own method. It's not that, you know, it's not that specific.
John, how many things have you tried that have worked out horribly when polishing? I know I've done a lot.
Well, honestly, I had steered away from, you know, doing the grease because I always had problems with the grease faking out, and then you get the ball later, and yeah, you can experiment with those. Doesn't hurt to experiment with them. Again, the cost of the diamond's cheap. And so I just got lucky because I talked to the right person here in China, and they're like, "Oh, use milk." And I was like, "Milk?" Well, the first time I heard that, I was like, "What?" And then it really occurred to me, they're just suspending the diamond. And now with milk, you don't have to go through all this crap to try and get the oil and the grease off your stone. And it doesn't fake you out, make you think you're polished when you're not polished yet. For me, both of those things are big negatives to a grease or an oil.
Or if you cut something like
pressing
leopard
medium.
skin. I'm being a little aggressive with this one because it's kind of thick and I'm trying to thin it out.
Wow. Well, you can really see the how great this gold sheen is.
So
Speaking of gold sheen, I believe Darwin and I had prepped up a deal for gold sheen.
Daniel, I don't understand your question about the live sales. Live sales right now are Wednesdays, well, sometimes Thursdays, every other Thursday for spheres and agates, and then Fridays and then Saturdays are more slab oriented. And then we're gonna have a schedule, a firm schedule soon for the metaphysical events. I don't think it's been determined yet, but they're going to be consistent. They'll probably be 2 a week. That is a great piece of stone. So the deals: gold sheen obsidian, $135 for 5 pounds. You're saving 10%. The fluorite deal. You know what? Tonight only. I'll do it tonight only for the gold sheen. I'll I'll do 125 for 5 pounds, but that's tonight only. And Darwin, so I'll just do that for the people here on the cut and chat because it's a special deal for that. Fluorite deal, 6 pounds. I mean, $60 for 3 pounds. That's a pretty good deal. And the Wyoming coprolite. Are you sure we got enough coprolite?
We have about 35 to 40 pounds left.
Okay. Coprolite's really unusual stuff. So if you haven't gotten any of that, that's some of the nicest Wyoming coprolite that I've seen. Glycerin. I'm not much for glycerin. Yeah, the gold sheen is fantastic. So that's the real deal for tonight. There's the gold sheen. I got you a really great price on that.
That is a really great price. This is the best gold chain I've ever seen.
Zeke,
Yeah.
Peter wants to know, you're shaping very quickly. Are you pressing hard?
Yep.
This one I'm being a little bit aggressive with because it was so thick. I was thinning it
Yeah,
out.
but the stone doesn't care. The wheel doesn't care.
I see.
Hey, Darwin, can you make sure Daniel's getting the invite for Wednesdays? And make sure we're not dropping that. If he's not getting it, make sure nobody else is getting dropped accidentally. And Kirsten wants one of each deal. The fluorite those are a little smaller than fist-size pieces, aren't they?
Yeah, they're all like palm size. And the fluorite is great stuff. There's a piece of the fluorite.
Tony wants to know, how about Ray Bright B as a final polish?
I don't think I've ever tried it.
Okay.
John, are you familiar with it?
I'm not. I mean, the whole thing is with polishes. A lot of the branded stuff that's like that got named specifically. It's there's nothing super special about it. Big thing is find what works for you, and then don't change it up. Just stick with it. You get your technique. I mean, and part of what we try and do is cut through a lot of the BS so we can give you the clear path to success. And I don't make anything selling you on using milk, but it's the right solution for so many different stones. So Darwin, to make sure people are getting invites, because it looks like we overlooked that a little bit.
Okay. So Bruce wants to know, so those pads are already with diamond, or you added the diamond?
On the end pad? You're talking the end pad?
This is with Bruce. So Bruce, please reply.
Bruce, are you talking about the end pad? The polishing disc on the end with the canvas? So, right.
Okay.
Yeah, it was already charged. And the thing to remember is when you charge a pad like that with diamond, you don't have to recharge it 100% every single time. You might add just a little bit, but you run on it and you see whether your polish is coming up, the diamond's still sitting there in the canvas. Nope, I'm not an operative for the dairy industry. Got no stock in it either.
On the gold chain, yes. If your stone is not bright gold right when you're looking at it, it's because it was cut at a little bit of an angle. And that's why you're not seeing the bright gold right on it.
Yeah, you got to get it. When you go to cut the stone, you got to make sure you're oriented to the biggest flash, and then like if you could see the on this cab here that the really bright gold is straight looking at the face. That means that's the way you want to slab it. So you orient it in your saw because turn it around shows the edge. Show the edge of the cap is black. If you cut it the opposite way, you're going to get black. So this is like tiger eye. If you want the brightest pattern, then you orient to that bright pattern being parallel to your blade when you slice it. I mean, you take one slice and then you check your piece and make sure you're oriented right. Because a lot of times you might be a little bit off on the first slice and then you go, oh, I got to move my stone a little bit. And Al wants one of the deals.
James is asking, how high a grit do you run on solid wheels before switching to your soft wheels?
3,000, I think, is what we're running, right? Oh no, on plated wheels. What do you got? A one? Are you going from a 220 to the 280?
Yeah, I go
Zeke?
80, 220.
So 220 is the last plated wheel. So we go 80, 220 in the plated wheels, and then 280 is your first soft wheel. And 280 is the wheel. 280 is the wheel you're going to wear out the fastest because you're making that big step from the metal to the resin. So plan on that. Like for me in my shop, I always keep an extra 280 on my shelf. I just keep it on my shelf. So I'm never out of 280 because when it gets to where it's not cutting or it's worn out, then I just grab my backup off my shelf. I don't wait until I go, oh shit, it's done. And then I order.
See, and that's why I like the wet belt sander so much, is because I would eliminate the need for being so aggressive on the 280 with the belts, especially if I was doing a bunch all at once.
Yeah.
I mean, I could probably wear out a 280 grit wheel in a week if I was sitting cutting cabs all day.
Charles is asking Darwin if you got his fluorite order.
Darwin had to leave. It's actually JD and Joanna and I don't know who
Okay.
else is on.
So somebody on the team, can you? Okay,
Yep.
Lynette says they got you.
Yep. So Mike is asking, Zeke, are your hand movements making a cab on a CB8 wheel basically the same technique you'd use making a cab on a WBS?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the question. Is my technique the same for what?
For
The belt sander is a cabbing machine.
Yep, same motions and movements. And it's pretty much just using another wheel.
okay. And then is there a trick to polishing a stone with the druzy pocket? How do you keep ZAM or other compound out of there?
If it's got a druzy pocket, I probably wouldn't use ZAM.
Mhm.
And if I do, I'm just going to be very careful not to get the edge of the wheel close to that druzy pocket. But generally, things that I'm cutting with druzy pockets, I think of things like quartz with, you got druzy quartz in an agate, which I'm going to be using cerium on leather for.
All right. And then we have a question from Steve from Facebook. Care to reminisce about the old lapidary world and how you've seen it change? All the companies that have come and gone, etc., etc.
Well, certainly the wheels have changed a lot, and going from the old silicon carbide wheels, which is what I learned on. I learned on silicon carbide, and I mean they have a lot more challenges to them because your wheel gets a little bump in it, and you're trying to dress the bump out, not have it break your stone because you're bouncing on the wheel so much, and And certainly diamond has just been a huge help to the industry to, produce a really reliable way of producing stones with a wheel that lasts a long time. And I would say, like all the diamond wheels started with plated. And what really drove the cost effectiveness of it was the industrial diamond being manufactured. And and basically, um, that made a huge difference because the cost of the diamond came down. And it's even more true now. Diamond cost is less now. Almost everything is done with industrial diamond, not natural diamond. And plated wheels are very, very reliable at this point in time. Sintered wheels are now great if you're doing. For me, if I'm doing coarse grinding, I'm going to be doing it on the sintered wheel because I want that wheel to last a long, 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 long time. And I like that the sintered wheels basically they cut like they're new their whole life, where a plated wheel will cut really great when it's brand new, and then over time you'll experience that the wheel will slow down, slow down, slow down until you're basically so dull that the wheel isn't cutting anymore. And because there's only one layer of diamond on it, there's only so much you can do. Where the centered wheel, in my experience, you're just gonna like the big thing is then you got to have your technique where you're using the whole face of the wheel.
Right. So from Alan, could you demonstrate how to charge the end plate?
Diamond to charge this one. Well, on this end plate right here that I did, all I did was take it off the machine and I put some diamond powder and some water on there. And I made sure to wash my hands first. And I took my thumb and I ground the diamond into the canvas so it didn't just all fly off when I turned the machine on.
All right. Thank you, Zeke.
Very, very complicated process, obviously.
Okay. And then Steve from Facebook again. What is the resin used for soft wheels? Is it epoxy, polyester, phenolic, or other?
You know, that's a great question. It's been one that I've been working on. I know a lot of the resins have phenolic in them, but they're not pure phenolic because they're flexible, and phenolic is very, very hard. And I would say that's definitely, it's one of the areas that I'm working right now to come up with our own resin wheel. I know a lot of what's being done, on the wheels that are made currently in the States and in Asia. They're all using pretty much the same resins, and I'm interested to see whether I can produce a resin that's a little thicker on the wheel, but still has that flexibility. One of the reasons why the resins that they don't put a real thick coating on them is because there's a limit to the flexibility of the resin. And if you get a wheel that has, flaking where the resin starts flaking off the wheel, basically the resin was too hard. Well, first of all, what you're looking for is Hextall, Linda. It's spelled like that. And if you search under that, you'll find it easily. I still don't have a resin for my Bond optic that they'll sell to me for, in a quantity less than a 50-gallon barrel. And I don't want to buy a 50-gallon barrel. It's just too much.
And then Carol wants to know, what is the width of the belts on the wet belt sander?
3-inch. It's 3-inch.
All right. Thank you. And then Daniel, vertical retrofit vise for high tone series and lower tone LS10, LS12, and LS14 slab saws. Is this per hold for the saw carry?
Pre-hold, yeah. I know what the question is. Now let me answer that. Yes, with a caveat. There were a couple different versions of the lower tone saws, and one of them has a different hole spread than the others. The latest version that was made, ours fits. Worst case scenario is you have to drill and tap a single hole. And if you get into that, I can teach you how to do it.
Okay, and then Bruce wants to know, isn't Zam wax and diatomaceous earth or powdered pumice?
I have no idea what Xan is made of, to be honest.
Well, you know, the best way to find that out, because I don't know the answer to that either, is just go ask them for an MSDS. They have to provide it because if any chemical that's sold like that, they gotta provide, you know, the MSDS for, and then you can look at it and go exactly, you can see exactly what's in it. Yeah, most of the time they fit. Most of the time they fit Daniel, but I've run into a couple where the hole spread's different. You can use one of the holes and then you got to drill a second hole. I learned a few things at Edward. Except most of the stuff I learned the hard way. And so part of the reason why we do all of what we do is so everybody else doesn't have to learn the hard way.
Okay. Then Richard wants to know, Zeke, I don't see you using air drying after you are done with each wheel to move on to the next. That is when I know when to move.
Well,
I am drying it off periodically and showing it. I can show you it again here because it's about ready to dry it off. But honestly, I can pretty much feel when it's ready to move on 9 out of 10 times. Just because I sit and do this so much, or I used to. But yes, you should dry it off and look at it so you can see what needs improvement.
yeah, I would definitely say if you're, because I'm watching Zeke and I know Zeke, I can tell he can tell when he's done without really even looking at it as much. But if you're more new to it, then definitely you are going to want to dry it off, look at it. Let me see on the belts here. They're $5.45 on those belts on average. One belt is more expensive. It's the most coarse one, but
So Richard, what you're part of the problem is how I'm showing it. But I'm like, so right there, I'm actually using where my thumb is on the wheel. Even though I'm holding the stone in the center, I'm grinding just on this edge right here. So even though I generally hold the stone right in the center, like that's the left edge, center, right edge. I'm going all the way across, even though I'm not moving the stone a ton.
yeah, see, I don't think you can, Harold. Maybe, I don't know. I don't know how you would clamp it though.
And then Ryan wants to know, do you have an ETA on the 8-inch 220 sintered and the 8-inch 3K diamond wheels? You mentioned one should be on the water the other day, but I can't.
Yeah. The 3,000 is on the water. Matter of fact, that container should be getting delivered to us really soon. I haven't heard the latest update. The 220 I've got on order. They're not in the next container. But let me find out here. Yeah.
I've never tried the pumice as a pre-polish. That's interesting.
And then Bruce wants to know, have you used powdered pumice for the pre-polish for opal? He said that it worked great for him.
That's the question I just answered. So thank you, JD. I appreciate you reading them to me.
We can't really hear you, Zeke.
I said that was the one I had just answered. I have not
Okay.
tried that. That's interesting. But I do. I appreciate you reading them to me. I miss a lot of them.
All right. And have we answered what is the average price for the WBS belt?
For the belts, yes, I did.
Okay, thank you.
All right, well, I'm gonna go ahead and jump off here, guys. You continue having great educational content and having fun. I'm gonna go do a little design work. I gotta get this auto slicer done.
Awesome. Well, thanks for jumping on. It's always good to see you, Jen.
Yep, enjoyed it. We'll see you guys tomorrow.
Yeah, we should probably do a wheel spin.
Okay, well, we'll spin.
Alex, is Alex here? Awesome. Door 1, 2, or 3. Door number 3. You have won this beautiful slab of sodalite. And that is lot 6845. Congratulations. You're very welcome. All right, let's look at this CAD. I'm just wiping it off. Looks pretty good. Not a fantastic polish. So let's go buff it. Yeah, I can show you where the magic really happens with the obsidian. And pardon the messy shop up here, getting everything moved. Just the camera. This is the wet belt sander leather wheel. Let me get some of these lights on. They're all motion activated, so I got to walk around to get them to turn on. And let me plug in the machine. I know I had a cord over here. The leather in cerium does such a great job for things like obsidian. And you do want to run the leather on the slow speed. Let me just get this plugged in here. So this leather wheel is already charged with cerium, and we're already on our slow speed. So on this, I'm going to take it, and I like to get it a little bit wetter than John does. But what you want to feel is the leather wheel should feel like it's pulling a little bit on the stone. And this is one that getting it a little bit warmer will actually help. I mean, you don't want to get it crazy hot, but you should still be able to touch the stone with a good rule of thumb. Good rule of thumb, not thumb. And you just want to go until you start to have that little, where it feels like it's pulling on the cab. Got to be careful not to let it throw it though. And the center of this, or this, from this point to this point in the center right here is about where I like to do most of the work. Well, let me get that a little bit wetter. Do the whole stone all the way around the edges. You want the whole thing to have a beautiful polish. I love this leather wheel. It'll put such a fantastic polish on stuff. We do a lot of agates on these. I was making sure I'm working out all the way around the edge there. Of course, you got to get the center because we really want that to pop. All right, let's do the back.
Zeke, is this 500 RPM?
I think this is closer to 800 RPM,
800.
if I remember correctly.
And how many RPMs is slow speed on that machine?
About 800 RPMs, I think. It might be 500.
Okay. And
It's
then
either 5 or 800.
800. Kristen wants to know, how do you charge a leather wheel?
On this leather wheel, what I do is I mix up a little tub of water and cerium oxide into a paste. And then I take that paste and use a foam paintbrush and paint it onto the wheel and work it in good. And once you put it on there, you don't need to charge it every time, just a little bit here and there. When it's brand new, you put a lot of cerium on it, at least I do. And then just little bits here and there after that. I'm just wiping the cerium off the stone. All right. Now you can see that wet polished look on there. Let's go back over into the other light so you can actually see this thing.
Okay. Alex from Facebook is asking, wait, what is that? I'm not sure if he's referring to the stone or the wheel.
Now you can see that glossy, wet look. I can take you back and show you that machine.
All right.
You see, this is not a material I would do a very tall dome on. I would actually think this is a little bit too tall, but since this was such a thick piece, I left it a little bit taller. But wow, great polish on there. Nice wet look. But to take you back and show you what wheel we were using, this is the wet belt sander. So you can put diamond or silicon carbide belts over here. And then you got this leather buffing pad on the side. This is great for polishing agates and doing harder stones. Do the jade, the obsidian, do that all on here. I love this machine. All right. Yeah, that's right, Jack. I don't know what you're talking about. Turquoise. We can do turquoise next. Got a beautiful piece of turquoise here. I'm excited to polish.
I think there's also a request of polishing a rainbow obsidian.
I don't have any rainbow obsidian
Oh, okay.
here tonight. We can do that in the future. Let me adjust the camera. It moved a little too much.
Daniel is asking, are you selling tonight's cabs in tomorrow's sale?
Not if I get my way.
Okay.
I like the sapphire powder, but it's expensive, so I don't use it much.
That's stabilized.
No, this is natural. I was not able to find any blue amber. We sold all of what we had. Yeah, why don't we review the deals for tonight? Why don't you talk about them for me, will you, Lynette or JD? Just read them out loud.
Sure. So we have gold sheen obsidian deal. So $125 for 5 pounds. So the regular price for that is $150. So for the fluorite deal, we have $60 for 3 pounds. The regular price for that is $75. And Wyoming Corporalite deal, which is 3 pounds for $60. The regular price for that is $75. Charles is asking, do you have any Sleeping Beauty for sale?
I'll have to look. That's what this is right here. We've sold a bunch of it on the live sale.
And then Robin is asking, when do you use dopstick?
That's really person dependent. I don't hardly ever use them. unless I'm doing small stones. Like this little chrysoprase is one I would do on a dop stick. This is one of the screws that goes in the dop pro handle. But most of the cabs I do are free-handed like this.
Lyra wants to ask, does stabilizing turquoise bring down the value of the stone?
It depends. If you have a chalky piece of turquoise that would otherwise be useless, no, it does not bring down the value because it wasn't usable before. On a piece like this, it would bring down the value, but this is a really hard piece of turquoise.
Are we getting some Sleeping Beauty anytime soon?
Well, it's not something they don't mind it anymore. So we just get it in collections. We might have some more rough. I'll have to look and see. Great
All right.
color in that.
And then Liz is asking, have you talked about how you stabilize a stone?
Nope, that will be a different chat and chat. We talk about doing the stabilizing because I don't have anything set up to do stabilizing.
Okay.
This has no smell to it.
John wants to know how's that smelling, Zeke?
Yeah, this piece doesn't have any smell to it. And this was kind of a personal choice on this one. You can see I left some of the white in there. If I cut it from this face, it would be more of the pure blue. It does have a little pyrite in it, but I like that white pattern in there. So I'll buff it on this side and leave some of that roughness. Turquoise is one of my favorite stones to cut. It's just so beautiful. That's actually one of the ways you know that turquoise has not been stabilized or has been stabilized. If it's been stabilized, it'll have a burning plastic smell to it. But this is natural, so you don't get any of that smell to it. Beautiful piece. Not all turquoise needs to be stabilized. A lot of what comes out more recently has to be stabilized because it's so chalky.
Do you know where this turquoise come from?
This piece that I'm cutting is Sleeping Beauty.
Uh, where did it come from? The location?
The Sleeping Beauty turquoise line. I can't remember if that's Nevada or Arizona.
Oh, okay.
Globe, Arizona. There you go. And on the turquoise, I don't worry about checking the polish during each step because I know it's going to buff out on the buffing wheel. All I'm looking at is the shape for flat spots, and I like the shape. Beautiful color.
Okay, so Liz is wants to know, I have 2 pounds of turquoise that is small chips. Is that something I could stabilize?
Yeah, we can stabilize that. And little pieces like that, I'd probably just use cactus juice. Egg stall is going to be the best, but you can use cactus juice. And you can actually, on the turquoise, I don't even need to take it all the way up to 3,000 grit. You can stop at 600 grit and put a really good polish on it. The only reason I'm going higher on this piece is because of the little bits of pyrite and quartz in it. And you know, looking at this cab, I personally like this more solid blue look, but I can tell you from doing a lot of shows, if you leave it more natural looking like this, it will sell better. As a general rule, I've discovered when it looks too perfect, people think it's fake.
Alan wants to know, do you polish the backs of all your stones?
I try to. I don't always do it, but I try to polish the backs of all of them. It's really important if you're doing a translucent stone to polish the back. All right. We'll take it over here to the buffing wheel. This is where all the magic's going to happen. Because if you look at this stone, there's really not a good polish on it at all. Like, it barely looks shiny. It's unimpressive the way it is. After we buff this thing was just going to glow.
What's on the buffing wheel?
Zam.
Okay.
Add a little bit more into that. And that's how, on the Zam, that's how you charge the wheel, is you just push the whack into it while it's running.
Carl wants to know what's the RPM of this uh, wheel.
1,725. It's just running straight out of the motor there.
Okay. And Linda wants to know, is the buffing wheel felt or cotton?
Is the buffing wheel what?
Felt or cotton?
Cotton.
And then Richard wants to know, do you use ultrasonic cleaner after?
No,
Okay.
you can, but I don't as a general rule.
Carl's asking, do you like the faster RPM over the 800 RPM?
On the cotton wheels, I like the faster. For leather, this is way too fast. Now it's got a nice glossy look to it. I'm just working down into these little grooves there to get the polish all the way down in there, so it looks consistent. So I'll keep working this until all down these little what look like pits, because it's still from a natural little nugget. Have a polish in them. That's what's great about this soft wheels; it really gets in there. I believe you can. I don't know who would sell an adapter for that, but basically you buy these little pieces that go over the end of a shaft, and you can. These wheels are really easy to take on and off. You just turn the machine on, and they put themselves on basically. Little tapered thread. As a general rule, though, I always have one set up separately, just because I've always been in a shop where we had one. If I was gonna polish a slab of turquoise, I would do the same process. With that nice wet look on there. And then we could actually take this one and do it with the Fabulister too.
Mike wants to know, can you put the polishing wheel on the cabbing machine?
Yeah, that's what we were just talking about.
Okay. And Boyd wants to know, is the groove in the wheel from use or made?
It is from use.
Okay.
You can, what we used to do is take a hacksaw blade, and while this is running, put it on there and to flatten them out. So it's still kind of got that natural look to it. Beautiful color. I personally like this side more, but I know from doing shows that a cab that's more like this natural look will sell really well. Awesome. Well, what else do you guys want to see? I know there was some other requests for stones. All of it's going to be very the similar process. The charoite, we can do the charoite next.
And apart from charoite, there's also a request for Wonderstone, river crossing, and Lepidolite.
River crossing is not one of the ones I grabbed tonight. That's a very hard stone. These are all going to be a little bit softer.
Okay. And Alan wants to know, will you have a show on how to glue stones together?
Yes, we will do that eventually.
All right. And Lyra wants to know, how do you deal with the chipping on charoite?
Okay, I'm starting out on the 220 wheel so that I don't get the chipping, and I'm working slow on this material. You can still get the chipping and sometimes separation, but I'm just going to work nice and slow to avoid that. Yeah, started with a 220 grit wheel. It takes a little bit longer, but then you don't get all the chipping and little pieces coming off like you do if you start with an 80. And it can still happen, but it's much more avoidable. On all stones, you should be in the bottom quarter of the wheel. You should never be working up above here or way down underneath. You should always be in this quarter range. A little lopsided there, but it's not bad at all. See if I push, you can see I pushed a little bit harder there, and I had a little piece come off. I like that shape better there.
Mike wants to know, can you show how you turn a piece on the wheel and run a different direction to check if you've completed getting the scratches?
So show how you turn a piece on the wheel. I'm not sure what you're asking, Mike. Are you talking about when I do here and I change directions like this? Yeah, I can show you a little bit more of that after we get the dome on here. I'm just slowly going around the edge there, putting the dome on. You see, I'm just getting that angle to go around to get the dome on there. Working it from the edge.
Lyra wants to know, are lower domes better for charoite? I had a medium dome cab cleave or split off in the middle.
Not necessarily. It's a lot about how you work the piece and how you treat it. Like I wouldn't jam the stuff to a thin soft. It causes lots of little fracturing. And I'll get more of a dome on there. I'm just working it across. There's just a slow process. This wheel is also a little on the worn out side, so it's good for cutting slow, but it makes it for a long time to watch. The other thing is, if a stone like this split, I'll still finish it. It'll just be a freeform shape. That is beautiful, that big spray right in the center. Normally I would, Carl, wear protection like that, but I am doing the cut and chat, I don't. It also depends on what I'm cutting, if I wear gloves or not. I don't always wear gloves. Like normally, if I was cutting the malachite, I would. But if I'm gonna sit down and cab all day, yeah, I'm gonna put all that stuff on. Doing a couple cabs though, I'm not too worried. Yeah, I always wear hearing protection because I hate the noise. That's funny, Carl. But we didn't do a ton of cutting, and I don't wear that stuff when I'm using the slab saws. I mean, it definitely wouldn't be a bad idea. And the question about the dome, though, on this material in general, I wouldn't do a high dome because you'll get more of the sequoians in a shallow dome like that. That's a pretty stone. One of those pieces you get lost looking at. You running around, seeing all the flash and the color. Fire Laguna right there. Okay, I did a pretty shallow dome on this. See, it felt like this is when I like the wet belt sander because I take this over and normally I'd use a 220 belt on this. And that would do amazing. Man, I got all kinds of junk in the valves here. I have to open them up again. beautiful stone. Let's dry it off a little bit. See how it's looking. That'd be interesting. Show the shaping. As a general rule, I don't do the shaping on the wet belt sander, but you could. Nothing wrong with doing that. Working pretty good. I don't like the point down here, so I'm gonna fix that a little bit. But otherwise, looks pretty good. All right, there's it. Dry it off. Fix that a little bit better. Now we can move to the 600 grit. Oh, that's great, Mike. I did get a new tripod, which seems to be making a big difference. It's still hard to get used to looking through the camera or around the camera to make a cab, but cabbing simulator. That's funny. On the bearings, I usually do them like every 2 weeks to a month, depending on how often you're doing them. 50 to 80 hours is probably about right. And yeah, you don't need much grease. Hi, Mark. Oh, sorry, I can show you dry. I mean, it was good dry too. Not too bad. A little bit. The water's pretty cold. All right, there's the cab dry. So not bad for 600 grit. But we'll get this thing looking pretty great. It'd kind of be fun to have a lapidary simulator where you can do all kinds of different lapidary work. On the other hand, I'd rather just be cutting. So that is a cool idea. If I was wearing gloves, what I used to wear is I'd go to Harbor Freight and get the nitride gloves, the thick ones. I like the 7 or 9 mil. Yeah, I just need to put different spacers in there to adjust it. I could move it over, or I could move the pad over. And yes, we're on 1200 grit. Nope, we do not have the flat lap stuff set up. But I think we'll do a night where we do all flat lap. I'll turn the flat lap. All right, there's 1200 grit.
Donna wants to ask Zeke, do you ever worry about gloves getting caught in the wheels?
No, because
Okay.
they're very. I mean, like when I put them on, they're nice and tight. And as a general rule, I mean, there's nothing really right here for it to get caught on, and they're gonna rip pretty easy if they do get caught.
And Thomas wants to know what is the size and speed of the wheels?
This is the CB8, 8-inch wheels. I'm not sure what speed the wheel is actually running at, but the motor is 1,725 RPM. Are the two speed settings on and off, Carl? John is working on a variable speed that'll go on these. It doesn't. The CB8 doesn't have two pulleys. You could add one, but it doesn't have one on it. But John is working on a brushless DC motor conversion, so you'll be able to put a conversion kit on there and make it variable speed.
Richard wants to know, do you prefer not to dop to save your fingers from cramping?
I just prefer to do it by hand because that's the way I learned it.
All right.
But there's nothing wrong with dopping the stone. I'll do dop stones and do small ones. So like a stone like this is a general rule. I can do it faster just by hand because that's what I'm used to. The CB8 does not come with two pulleys. You could change it out, but it doesn't come with two on it. Yep, John had a good experience getting his tooth fixed. That is taken care of now. So there's the cab after 3,000 grit, but we can still do better than this. I don't totally love the dome right there. It doesn't flow well, but it's pretty good. Yep, I always price them. I do them in batches and then price them by weight. And let's go back over here to the wet belt sander. Because we'll buff this with the cerium. Get the light turned on again. I just got a spray bottle with water that I put some water on there. Don't want to get the charoite too hot.
Kurt wants to know what would that cab be worth?
I'd probably put 130, 140 bucks on that cab.
And then Richard asks, have you guys have had complaints about the silicone water splashes being too flimsy?
Um, it is definitely not a fan favorite. Some people have a hard time getting them to stay in. I don't mind them. I don't have a problem with them. John, I think, did a different design on the CB6, and when he redoes the CB8 eventually, I'm sure he'll try something different.
Okay, and Kirsten wants to know, is there a general guide to use which stone with which polishing compound, or is it more of a trial and experience thing?
More of a trial and experience thing, but eventually you'll get to where you can feel the stone. Like generally, I can tell you what will work best just by feeling it. It's not always right, but you kind of feel stones and you can tell by their texture what's going to polish better. And it's always fun to experiment. Like you got a stone that, and you got a couple different ways to polish it. Try it on each and see which one works the best. Sometimes if I don't know what works the best, I'll go polish it on 3 or 4 different ways and see which one turns out the best.
Michael is asking, is there a time frame for the upgraded CB8?
Probably not in the next year, would be my guess.
And Richard's asking, have you thought about just making the buffer wheel without the sander?
I don't know if that's something John would ever make. Let's go back over to the regular light so I can show you this better. Nice bright chatoyant flash in there. I appreciate that, Ed. Yeah, these lights are amazing. I couldn't believe how cheap they were. When John told me the price, I was like, each? I couldn't believe it was for the set. Look at how chatoyant that is. Beautiful piece. For those of you joining in later, I will show you the other ones that we've done so far. This is the chatoyant malachite. Then we got this leopard skin. I'm dropping the obsidian on the floor. Just asking for it to get shattered. Then we did this gold sheen obsidian, which we're doing a deal on tonight for the rough. It's just such good gold in there. You can see when you cut it right, just perfect flash. And then we did this turquoise. The cabochons, probably not too fragile because I just dropped one on the floor. I like this one. This is one I did before we started tonight. This is jade from Siberia. I sent this one flying across the room, and it hit one of the machines and bounced onto the floor, and it's just fine. I don't recommend doing that, but didn't hurt it. All right. Yeah, I like the jade too. It's pretty stuff. I'm trying to get some of this jade right here. Let me show you this piece. This is a piece of the Siberian jade that's chatoyant. And haven't y'all seen chatoyant jade before? So this is a pretty incredible piece. Yes, I'm working on it. All right, let's do a spin. Gary, you in the room, Gary?
He's in the room.
Put something in the chat if you're here, Gary.
5 seconds.
Oh, it's getting close. Oh, that was really close. He's here.
He's here.
All right. Door 1 or door 2? Gotta move my chat so I can see it. Door 1 or door 2, Gary? Door 1. This is lot 6824. You got nice slab of the charoite. This is actually off that same piece that I just got that cap out of. So you'll have fun cutting that. That's lot 6824. Congratulations. All right. What else you guys want to see tonight? No, I can show you what I still have sitting here that we haven't done yet. I got some Wonderstone, the Lepidolite.
Yeah, there was a request for Wonderstone.
I do have this piece of Rosetta lace. Got a piece of Cherry Creek. I'm seeing a lot for Wonderstone.
Yep.
All right, let's do the Wonderstone. This wheel is getting pretty worn. Yeah, you can reverse that. We can do the Lepidolite next. Gosh, now I want pizza. That sounds good.
So Lyra is asking, will you work one on the belt sander?
Probably not tonight because I don't have water set up to it. But we can do a full sanding process on the belt sander on a cut and cat.
Okay, and then Kurt said, website says that we are out of lights. Are we getting more?
I think there's a couple down now. We better check the inventory, make sure we have a correct count on that. But I'm not sure when we'll be getting more. I don't know if there's more in this next container.
Okay. And Ed is asking, is that a plated wheel? It looks like it.
Yes, this is a plated wheel.
And then Richard is asking, can you reverse the wheels?
Yes, you can. And it does make a difference. So they get worn in one direction and then they'll cut a little bit better in the other direction after you use it a bunch.
So when you reverse the wheel, do you polish using the top now instead of the bottom?
What's that?
When you reverse the wheel, are you now gonna polish on the top instead of the bottom, what you're doing right now?
No. You just, what you do is you take the wheel off the machine, flip the wheel over and put it back on. So you're still using this portion of the wheel. But because it's all being ground in one direction, when you turn it back the other way, it'll cut a little bit more aggressive.
Ah,
But even this piece of Wonderstone, which is really soft, feels hard on this wheel. And it's so worn. You can see when I get right on the edge where there's lots of diamond, it just grinds like crazy. Thanks, Ken. Great color in that. Yeah, let's see. Yeah, I want to grind this down a little bit more. Yeah, a little aggressive with the grinding there. This is the oldest wheel on this machine, so it doesn't surprise me that it's getting worn out. I've ground down a few agates on it pretty hard. That's funny, Jack. All right. Let's move on to our 280 grit. Gosh, we need a shaping better on this roll than the 220 grit roll. It's so worn down. Yeah, this will take a really nice polish. The stuff from Nevada is really good too. All right, on to the 600 grit. Oh, let me show you this dry. This is the Mexican stuff that I'm polishing. Adjust the camera a little bit since at a better angle. It's so soft, it goes so fast. All right, let's see how that works. Not too bad. Sorry.
Eric wants to know, so the wheels don't get contaminated between going from wheel to wheel without rinsing the cab first?
I've never had a problem with them getting contaminated on diamond wheels. Yeah, that works. About average, nothing impressive. Now let's buff it with the diamond on canvas. I'm just going to get a little water on there. Try not to get too much water on there. This in curve is the hardest part about this one. All right. Now, I clearly didn't polish the back enough because you can still see saw marks in it. We'll see how the rest of it looks. I'm just wiping it off with a paper towel. Get all the residue off from the diamond. I'm actually curious on this one if we can get this to a higher gloss with the cerium. It's not bad for Wonderstone. Let's look at it with the cerium and see if we can take this up even higher. Because I thought the diamond would do a better job on it. And a lot of the Wonderstone won't take a fantastic polish, but it should take a little bit better than that. Let's see what we can do with this. I thought that one would do better, but I'm thinking that maybe the leather might do a better job. Oh yeah, that's much better. Let's go look at it back in the other light over there. See, that's one of those stones that if you would have asked me, I would have said definitely diamond and canvas. But looking at the results, cerium and leather was much better. Nice vibrant color for the Wonderstone too. And this one you can see I did not grind down enough on the backside there because you still got saw marks in there. But honestly, I wouldn't worry about it on this stone. All right, and then there was requests for the Lepidolite. Let's do that one next.
Emily wants to know, can you tell any info on Opalina?
Tell me what on what?
Opalina?
I don't know what opalina is.
Okay.
I'm not sure what you're asking actually, Timothy. A piece of lepidolite and tourmaline. Yeah, this is 220 grit. On the softer material, I generally start with 220 grit because it makes it easier to work. The 80 grit grinds a little bit too fast for the softer material. On stabilizing, I'm gonna stick stuff in a vacuum chamber and suck the epoxy through it, or make sure it gets all the way through. We'll do a cat and shot on stabilizing when we get all that stuff set up. Oh, huh, okay, that's interesting. I think I know what you're talking about. I just don't know if I've ever heard anybody call it that. I'll have to go look it up later and see. I'm not sure what the question mark is for. Oh, last night we were talking about tongue-shaped cabochons. Sorry, I forget to talk when I get lost in the cabin. I could sit and do this all night, just cutting cabs, getting lost in the rock. It's so mesmerizing. Yeah, watching it change shades and watching the color come out, get closer and closer to a finished piece. Great purple in this stone. This is Lepidolite with pink tourmalines in it. I'll grab a paper towel and wipe it off. Looks pretty good. I love how vivid the pink is in those tourmalines. Such a good contrast with that glittery purple and that nice pink in there. Oh, nicely. And this is one that I think will do good on the exam, but it's another one we can test and see. Beautiful. That's quite a bit of grinding, Carl. And there'd be some small cabs in there. Check it again. Yes, you can get in South Dakota. We used to go peel apart the mica to find tourmaline crystals. I have a buddy that will sit and etch out crystals out of matrix like this. He mostly does emeralds out of quartz, but he could take a piece like this and make all nice little specimen crystals. On this piece, it's probably not worth doing that, but it's a possibility. This is generally a little bit thicker than I like, but nothing wrong with that in cab. That is a really good question. I don't know. I've worked some pretty expensive stuff with some high-end tourmalines, red burl, sugilite. I'm trying to think of one thing that really stands out. I really like making cabs out of the electrum, where you get the black quartz with the gold and silver veins going through it. That's funny, Jack. All right, this one turned out. And then we'll buff this one. This one should take a good polish with just Zam. Oh, it's not a bad polish, just dry. But I think we can do better. Zam it. That was funny. All right. I definitely made some improvement. I'm thinking just for fun. Yeah, this is beautiful stuff. I love cutting Lepidolite. We should do cerium on the back. See if we can bring that up better. Oh, there you go, Lawrence. That's awesome. I just want to see if we, with cerium, how well this will do on the back. Because I don't think I've tried cerium on this before. We'll just do the back of it so we can compare. And let me wipe it off. Oh, it actually does really well on the cerium too. Let's go look at it in the white. So there's with Zam. There's with cerium. I actually think cerium, it's kind of a toss up. They both look really good. This one, I think you can do either way. Oh, beautiful. Well, that was fun. Is there anything else that we need to see tonight before we head out? Yeah, we could buff the rest of it with cerium and see how the front looks. Won't hurt it. But I'm thinking you might be right, Lawrence. I think I might like the cerium more too. Just can't help yourself, Carl. These leather buffing wheels are really good. You can do a lot of awesome stuff with these. I mean, honestly, if I could only have one buffing wheel, this leather one would be the one. It definitely made the tourmalines better. Beautiful piece. I'm sure there are, but I can't think of any off the top of my head. Yeah, that really makes it pop well. One of the other things that I like too, if you're doing the exam, is the soft cotton wheel. You can get different hardnesses of the cotton, and I definitely think a harder cotton wheel works better than this soft one I have. That's what I had when I had my shop, was a harder cotton wheel, but that looks really good. Oh, the light. Yeah, I can show the light. I was trying to figure out what you were saying on the cab. I'm gonna take the phone out. So the lights come with this base right here, so they come like that. I can't reach all the way around. But these are awesome. Really good lights. No, it's a harder, like, so this is really soft. I had one of these wheels that was much stiffer than this. Although it could have been the fact that it was like a 20-year-old wheel. But this one's like really soft. The one I had was much stiffer. All right, there's Lynette put the deals in the chat again. Man, we polished a lot of pretty stones tonight. I'm looking at all these beautiful cabs over here. Let me grab these and I'll show you. We'll show all these again. And then I think we'll wrap up for tonight. Thank you, Carol. Can't complain about that in the night. Thank you. I appreciate it. I'm trying not to. I mean, I can always cut more, but I do like to hoard the cabs. Thank you. I appreciate it. This leopard skin took a nice polish. That's pretty. Thank you, Frank. Well, I would encourage all of you. Nothing I did here was extraordinarily out of ordinary. Y'all could spend some time doing cabbing and make just as good at cabs. Honestly, a lot of the cabs I make are not, top end cabs, but I've made a lot of them, and so you just get a lot of practice, and it's fun to experiment with different shapes and different polishes. So definitely encourage all of you to go out and experiment, cut lots of cabs. The light green one is Siberian Jade. As I almost drop it again for like the third time today. This one is really thin too. That was really good color in there. Awesome. Well, thank you all. I do believe we have more spin. And did we queue up pictures for tonight? Yes, Jack. I did see that I have an email from you. I have not read it yet, but thank you for the reminder. I appreciate that. Sherman's still out of town, so I'm trying to keep everything running for him, but he should be back tomorrow, so we'll get that for you. I'm glad y'all had a good time. Always happy to share tips and tricks and show you guys things that maybe you haven't seen before, or help you with getting a better polish on the rocks. I'd say one last little piece of advice. On the polish, I'd say 9 out of 10 times when someone shows me their work and says they can't get a good polish on something, it's just because they haven't gotten the scratches out from doing the first or second wheel. So definitely something to evaluate when you're looking at the polish is have you gotten the scratches out? And if you've gotten the scratches out, why can't you get a polish? So, but 9 out of 10 times it's because you haven't gotten the scratches out. I would say that there's not a good polish on there. So just something to keep in mind when you're polishing. We appreciate all of you. It was always great hanging out, and it was fun getting to cut some cabs. Oh, I'm so glad, Mike. And I believe we got another wheel spin. Michael. You in the room, Michael? Here, awesome. Got a beautiful piece of lapis for you. That is lot 6, 7, 8, 9. That's really pretty. Y'all have fun making cabs out of that. All right. Did we queue up a slide to show off other people's work tonight?
Yes, we do.
Awesome. Let's look at that. I always have fun looking at what you guys are making.
All right.
Oh, that's a sweet agate. Man, look at the colors in that. One Carl cut. Oh, some from Kathy. Some beautiful golden amphibole. I like the Laguna cabs too. Those are awesome. That's really bright golden amphibole. Oh, the banded plume cab is awesome, and I love the imperial jasper. You got the little end cut and the pendant in there. That's great. Very pretty. Oh, I always love seeing James's pendants. Love the pre-night. You got some of the tiger plume in the middle. I'm not sure what the one on the far left is, but I like the colors. And I got a little stripe with the pink in there. It's pretty. Oh man, look at that one in the middle. That either Shattuckite or Demortierite are the two that come to mind, and that is just phenomenal. Little sprays in there, very bright, beautiful. I like the Chrysocolla cross too. Very good work. Oh, well, it's a very interesting shape on the left. I like that you got the picture with them both backlit and frontlit. That's nice. Beautiful. Looks like jade and green moss. Oh, that's gemmy. Rhodochrosite and Larimar. Very good color in those. Whole beautiful little collection. The one that stands out to me on this is the Awahi. Very nice cab. I like the tall, skinny shape on these cabs. They look really good. Oh, it's nice agates. I love this one on the right. Little fortification with the blue and then this bright yellow moss. Those are all pretty. Oh, some more beautiful. These look like Turkish agates. Wow, that one in the middle really stands out. Although I like the blue and yellow on the right too. More beautiful agates. Also pretty. Definitely not an ugly agate there. Oh, this moss on the right really stands out. That's great color contrast in there. Well, thank you, everybody. That was a blast. I enjoy hanging out with y'all. Please leave us a 5-star review. We greatly appreciate those. And we'll see y'all tomorrow for some more awesome rough rock. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Neil. Thanks, Joe. Thanks, Ed. Appreciate you, Jody. Have a good night, everybody.
Thank you, everyone. And I hope you learned a lot for tonight. We hope to see you tomorrow for our Rock and Rough Rock. Have a great night, everyone. Good night.